צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. לי מלך מלכי המלכים, את קדוש ברוך הוא. And I invite you to transform the melody of the conversation that you were having outside into the melody of the sacred dialogue that we are trying to create together. Please join us. Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. We will start our Shabbat service lighting Shabbat candles. I'd like to invite our Executive Vice President, Lawrence Simon, to light Shabbat candles and to bring the light and the spirit of the seventh day. Amen. 120. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find the knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love, and trying to embrace that love that Shabbat brings to our lives, that perception that this world belongs to us and we belong to this world. We sing from the Song of the Songs, from Shir HaShirim, Ani leDodi and Dodi li, my beloved is mine, and I am mine beloved, on page 129. שנים כותרת מור מור לבונה מקודרת מור לבונה היי 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 On Shabbat, we go to the encounter with the divine. We try to open our hearts and our minds to welcome the seventh day, the sacredness of this wonderful day. On page 130, we sing Lechul Ranena, followed by Shiru L'Adonai on page 131.
Lechul Ranena.
חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, עשרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו הגויים כבודו, וכל העמים נפלאות הלילה גדול אדוני, גדול מאוד, נורא הוא, על כל אלוהים, היי כי כל אלוהי עמים, אלילים, באדוני, שמיים עשה. Shabbat Shalom. Two words, very simple. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yai. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. In Shabbat, we try to find the silence in order to embrace each of the sounds of our existence. On page 134, Sambrula Adonai Bechinor. Over the last couple of weeks, we are trying to introduce a new, not so new, a different piece of melody for Lechado Di. So we were training that, and we will train this week again. So when we switch to melody number 2, we usually do 2 melodies in Lechado Di. You know what we are doing. So the melody is pretty simple, and you probably know it. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ay da da da. Ya la da 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 da. So you know it very well. Now the second part is ya da la da. Ya da la da la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. I think that you have enough preparation, so you sound really ready. And Lechado Di actually is the step in which we try to be absolutely ready to welcome Shabbat, to welcome the experience of this wonderful day. And it goes to the level that we think of Shabbat as a bride or as a queen. And at the end of Lechado Di, the last verse, we stand up and we turn our glance, that's my son, our glances to the door. And we imagine a bride coming into this room and filling our lives
with joy and laughter.
With joy, laughter. And where are you, Noga? Ya la 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 la, Lechado Di. Ya la 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 la. Shabbat, Shabbat, ya la 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 la, Lechado Di. יא לה 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 לקראת כלה יא לה 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 פני שבת פני שבת מקבלה אלינה לקראת כלה יא לה 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 פני שבת פני שבת מקרב אליי יא לה 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 לך דודי יא לה 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 לקראת כלה יא לה 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 פני שבת שבת לקבלה יאי לי לי לקראת כלה יא לה 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 פני שבת פני שבת נקרב אליי יא לה 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 לך דודי יא לה 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 לקראת כלה יא לה 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 פני שבת שבת נקרב אליי לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקרב אליי we're the fifth verse התעוררי כי האורך קומי אורי שירי אורי שירי חברי כבוד אדוני עלי נגלה לי לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקלמי מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי בך יחסו אני אעמי ונבנתה עיר התפילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת please Christ פני שבת פני שבת נקבלה and if you close your eyes you might see the bride אוי ושלום את תרד ולה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, היי ליי ליי לך, לא, היי ליי ליי היי לקראת קלה, היי ליי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה, היי היי ליי היי לך דודי, היי ליי ליי היי לקראת קלה, היי ליי פני שבת, פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. Good Shabbos. And now that we have welcomed Shabbat, I invite you to turn to the person sitting next to you, or even to whoever who is not sitting next to you, and to say Good Shabbos. You have even a minute and a half to say Shabbat Shalom. And if you recognize somebody that you don't know, you can say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, David. Welcome. Nice to see you here. So this person that you don't recognize is David Gilanders. He's our guest from Pathways of Hope. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom umeborach. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Look at you. Get ready for Chetzi Kaddish. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Did I get to you? I skipped you, right? Like it's unfaithful. What? I think you do. But not yet. I call you. Don't worry. Don't worry. And now that we have welcomed Shabbat and we have welcomed each other, we grant to Shabbat a wonderful song on page 140, Mizmor Shir, Leyom HaShabbat.
השיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות אדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. צדיק חתם על יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזרח, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינון בסלע, נשמים ברעננים יהיו, להגיד ישר אדוני, צורי אלוהיו לתבוא. Please turn your Sidurim to page 144. I'd like to invite to lead us in Chetzi Kaddish Jacob Simon, who is going to come up to the Torah next week. Take your time, Jake. Jake, say ah.
Yikadov, Vayikadosh.
Wait a second. Sarah, let me do it with him 1 second. Thank you.
Okay.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה
Ad Ivrach Chirutei Ve'amlich Malchutei Rechayechon
Uvyomecho, uvchayetecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv. Ve'emru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach, la'olam u'la'olmei Omaya. Yitbarach, Yitbarach, vayishtabach, vayitpa'ar,
Arbitroman
vayitpa'ar,
Mitnaseh
vayithadar, vayitoleh, vayitolal, shemei kedusha, b'richu, le'olam, mikol birchata, v'shirata, tushvechata
Kemata Tahamiram Be'alma Emru Amen. We're on page 146. Please rise for Baruch. Stay with us for Baruch.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach.
May be seated. Thank you very much. We are on page 148. Let's read together in English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe.
Who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsebaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Hama'ariv Aravim.
And with that perception of the war, seeing the transition between day and night, and recognizing every day as a blessing, we surround ourselves with an everlasting love, Avat Olam, on page 150.
Avat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Torah mitzvot,
Chukim u'mishpatim,
otanu imaretam. Akeinu Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokbeinu u'b'kobeinu,
invite you to close your eyes just for a second. To recognize your neshima, your breath. And while recognizing your neshima, your breath, try to release some space for your neshama, your soul. Run so much during the week. We are so busy doing what we need to do, what we have to do, that sometimes we forget to keep space for important things, for things that bring air to our spirits and joy to our souls. Take a deep breath. Become one. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. We are on page 154. Let's read in English. You shall love Adonai your God
with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת באמונה כל סוד וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו, ואנחנו ישראל עמו. We continue with the silent reading over page 156. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, on page 158. Ya lai la lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Norat tehilot osef eleh. Norat elot osef eleh. Ay rai rai malchotecha rahuvanecha. Okay, I'm living my shomidam. Elianu ve'amenu. Oy Elianu ve'amenu. Ay rai 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 rai. Ay rai rai rai. Ay rai rai. Ay rai 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 rai. Ay rai 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 rai. Ay rai rai rai. Ay la rai 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 rai. Ay lai lai malchotecha rahuvanecha. Okay, I'm lifnei Moshe Miriam. Sehelianu ve'amru. Ay sehelianu ve'amru. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Israel. And following the blessing for redemption, we do the blessing for our inner peace. But we understand also that our inner peace requires some external peace too. We ask for shelters of peace, shelters of protection. When we ask for shelters of protection, remember those that were praying a week ago in Texas. When we ask for shelters of protection, we remember our democracy. That is the shelter that we create together that protect our existence. When we ask for shelters of protection, remember our own community. We remember important organizations in our city. We remember Pathways of Hope and the holy work that they do. And we remember that we are the shelter. We remember that our mission is to create both internal and external peace. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom on page 160. And if you want to follow, you can also find our alternative version in the additional pages that are next to the Sidurim.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for
בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, בעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Page 162. We remember our transgenerational covenant to keep Shabbat as a part of our lives, and on the other hand, to let Shabbat to keep us alive. Shamru b'nei Israel. השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השני שבת בריא נפש יאי לי לי Please rise for Tfilat Amidah on page 164. אנחנו לך שתראו May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel and all who inhabit the earth.
Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu. Say shalom bimroma, say shalom
At the very end of our Tfilat Amidah, of our personal prayer, we ask for peace. We ask for the capability to recognize others while we are trying to find our own desires. And then we dedicate one more prayer for those that are dealing with illness. Those that are dealing with illness in their bodies, in their souls. Those that are dealing with addictions. And if you have a name that you'd like to share tonight, please do so. Try to send to all of them our healing energies, our intentions, the warmth of our presence. We elevate a prayer on page 371, Misheberach.
May the
wish to all of them refuah shlema, nachlama me'ira, a complete and fast recovery. Shabbat shalom. So we have a busy schedule. David, I will call you in 2 minutes. But we have two important things. Today, we are going to share a little bit about our partnership with Pathways of Hope. But before we do that, we want to, before we do that, I had a second thought for a second. I had a discussion with myself. It happens very often to me. And then number two argued to number one, and number one succeeded in this discussion. So we would like to invite all our veterans. Today is our Veterans Shabbat. We recognize people that serve our country. We have one that serves also the state of Israel. But we recognize our veterans, and we honor them, and we thank you for your service, and we want to acknowledge you. So all who is a veteran, may you come to the bima. Like, we have no bima, but to this space. And Zach, I need the microphone. Have quite a few. You stay here in a line, so everybody can see you. I didn't know about you. So, Zach, how do you use this? Is it working? Do something with this. Do something. Don't leave me alone with this. No, we have already a good example. Now it works?
We promise.
Okay, so we are going to recognize our veterans, and we have also a very nice surprise that our ECLC children prepared for you. We have goodie bags for you. We have goodie bags for you, and we also have a blessing. But before we move forward into that, we want to know your name, where you were, and between what years.
Les Sussman, Pacific, Western Sea Frontier, 62 to 65.
And pass the microphone to each other.
Tom Toby, U.S. Navy, Miramar Naval Air Station, Air Traffic Controller, 65 to 68.
Chuck Rosen, USS Walker, a destroyer, Vietnam, 2 tours, 67, 68.
Anthony Lambert, U.S. Army, Cavalry Scout, Fort Hood, Texas, 2011, 2015.
Marvin Goodman, U.S. Army National Guard, 1962 to 71.
Ken Goodman, U.S. Army, Korea, 1953, 1954.
Stuart Starr, U.S. Army also, 1959 to 1967 as the Vietnam era.
Jerry Levine, U.S. Army from 1969 to 1971. Most of the time was spent in Germany.
Ken Levin, U.S. Army Reserves from 68 to 92.
Mitchell Goldberg, Saigon Support Command, Benoit, Vietnam, 1969-70.
Steve Belasco, U.S. Army, enlisted 1966 to 67, Vietnam in 68, 69, and Army Reserve until August of 1995.
David Mandel, Sahal, 95 through 99.
Jack Mandel, United States Air Force, Clark Air Base in the Philippines, and service throughout Southeast Asia.
Edward Rosenthal, 1972 to 1978, the Vietnam era, but I was stationed in K Bay, Hawaii.
Lyle Lewinson, 3rd Army Signal Corps, Korea, 1953 1955.
Harry Elliott, Air Force, Japan and Korea, 50 to 54.
This is such a wonderful line and group of people. We want to dedicate a blessing to you, and usually I do the blessings, but I feel that all of us need to thank you and bless you. So are you holding these pages? Say yes. So please rise to thank these people that have served this wonderful country. And please join me. Almighty God, serving our country armed force. Protector of Sarah. May they continue to serve their country, community, and synagogue as champions of righteousness and warriors of justice. Guide their deliberations and bless them, that they, as Amen. And we say, Baruch Atah Adonai. Repeat after me. Baruch Atah Shomea Tefillah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who listen and hear our prayers. Amen. And Natalie, you might be seated. You are ECLC's personality. So of course, you are the youngest person right now here. You are the youngest person right now here. Well, we have a couple of things that are playing outside. Hi. So I'd like to ask you to come back here, to return your attention to the circle. So, who knows what Torah portion we are reading this week? We are reading Hayei Sarah. Literally, we are reading Hayei Sarah. Literally, Sarah's life. And as a matter of fact, every time that Torah starts talking with the title of the life of somebody, it means that that person is going to die. And it's not a joke. This is the story of the end of Sarah's life and of something else. Something else starts and ends right here. And that idea I'd like to discuss with you. The end of the last Torah portion, let's see if you remember the name. Last Torah portion was Vayera. Right. Vayera. The end of that Torah portion is, let me give you a clue. The Akedah, the binding of Isaac. The binding of Isaac. And our sages recognize the binding of Isaac as a test to Abraham. They say that Abraham was being tested on his faith. And many of our rabbis will say that because Abraham followed the words of God, that basically was telling him, kill your son. He actually passed the test. But other rabbis say that Abraham didn't pass the test because what he actually needed to do was to argue with God, as he did before. The capability of arguing with God was what made Abraham the first Jew, the leader that he was. That was the big difference between Abraham and Noah. And now, he's apparently very strong in his faith, but very blind. And I want to say that that moment, this beginning of this Torah portion, Hayei Sarah, the life of Sarah, is the end of Abraham's leadership. Because you can't be the leader of the people of Israel when you are blinded by your faith. And our sages discuss a lot about this capability to see, to be able to look outside. And a very famous discussion, and finally, law, a very famous Jewish law, is that you can't pray in a place without a window. You can't pray in a place without a window. You need to be always capable, even when we are looking deep inside, you need to be always able to look outside. You can't be blinded by your face. You need to be always capable to open your eyes and look outside. And about this capability of looking outside, I remember the words of Abraham Joshua Heschel when he was marching, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, when he was marching with Martin Luther King in Selma and said, I felt like I was praying with my legs. Spiritual practice is what happens when we actually pray with our legs, when we pray with our hands, when we pray with our bodies. Here, we practice our spirituality. But the spiritual practice is what we do outside. It's when we go out and try to work
with our society is when we face our lives the best way we can, trying to bring our spirits. And in this idea of praying with our legs, of praying with the work of our hands, here at TBT, we are asking to see more, to see beyond the boundaries of our building, to see what's happening in our city. And we can definitely say that there's an organization that has its eyes wide open. And that's why we are so proud to welcome David Gillanders, the Executive Director of Pathways of Hope. And we are so excited to share about the beginning of our partnership. It's not the beginning of our partnership. We have been partnered for years, but an additional chapter in our partnership. And that's why we are so thankful, because we are confident that our partnership with Pathways of Hope is opening our eyes, is adding a window to our synagogue, and is indeed praying with our legs. Welcome, David. You can use here, we have microphones. Let me help you to get settled. You have microphones here. Come. Don't be shy. And you have water here also. So you are well equipped. Good luck.
It's definitely a lot to live up to, based on what I just saw with the rabbi. It was pretty amazing. I might not. Can you hear me okay without the microphone? Is that okay? Okay. I'm slightly embarrassed to say at 41 years old that was my first Shabbat or my first Jewish service at all. As Gary Gruber would say, no one's perfect. So I don't think it'll be my last, though, as the rabbi and I have become fast friends over the last couple weeks. And I think really have a shared and mutual understanding for some of the things that we want to accomplish in the community. I really appreciate what the rabbi speaks about when he talks about praying with our legs and with our whole bodies and not just our thoughts, because when you think about some of the great social justice movements of our time, it's taken a whole body approach to work on these issues, and issues around homelessness and hunger in our community are no different. The rabbi said I should talk a little bit about myself, which I'm not always really comfortable doing. I like talking about my work a lot more than me. But I would just say that a couple things about what's brought me, I guess, to this place now is I was born and raised in this area. I went to Brea Linda High School. I was born in Anaheim, lived in Placentia and La Habra. And I decided a decade or so ago to change careers and really dedicate myself to working on some of the issues that I felt were really important in my community. And chief among them, for no real explainable reason, was homelessness. I had a real passion for it. And a real passion for working with people in deep poverty, in particular children, but also individuals who are housing insecure and food insecure on a daily basis, to which in this county we have far, far too many, considering the kind of place and how lucky we are to live here. I was really fortunate that back in May, somebody called me and said, you've been around the nonprofit scene and we've seen you grow, and we have an amazing opportunity for you to come work at an agency in Fullerton. We won't tell you which one. So I said to them, oh, you mean Pathways of Hope, right? Please, I hope, hopefully. And sure enough, that was the correct answer. So I'm very fortunate, very grateful for the opportunity that I had to come and work for an organization that for 42 years has been really on the front line in the Fullerton area in taking on the parallel issues of homelessness and food insecurity for both families and individuals. What we do at Pathways of Hope is pretty simple, and I'm not going to take too much of your time with the history and things like that. I want to talk more about the burgeoning partnership. The rabbi called it the next step. I think it's an awesome evolution in the partnership. Gary Gruber and the Pickup Artists have done some. I'm getting more and more comfortable with that. You know, that whole at our Angelo's and Vinci's event, which I know some members of the congregation that are here tonight and some that aren't were at, and we really appreciated it. it was in my cues. This was going to be my first kind of speech to this this group of stakeholders and community members are really concerned about our issues and supporters. And it said in my cue sheet, Gary and the Pickup Artists, and I said, oh, okay, I can do that. That's fine. Have really come to understand what that means. It's not picking up women at the Shady Nook on after Shabbat. You're not doing that. Maybe not. But it actually is praying with your legs and your hands, and hopefully not your back. Use your knees when you lift, but when you're picking things up, it's better for you. But doing a lot of that to actually physically take food and collect food and take it somewhere. So I'm really appreciative of Gary and the Pickup Artists and the work that they do. But what Pathways does is very comprehensive in terms of taking on these issues. For 42 years, previously Fullerton Interfaith Emergency Services, which really started out as a group of faith leaders from different faith-based institutions all across Fullerton, really, came together and had made a determination that enough was enough and they needed to work on these issues themselves and pray with their legs. And so they did that. And as time went on, the agency grew and expanded, and the kinds of services that were available really grew and expanded with it. And it became a little bit bigger than just Fullerton, and it also became bigger than just a small faith-based group. And I think a lot of folks kind of looked at each other and said, okay, how do we take this to the next level and help that many more people? So in the last few years, we've seen some really spectacular growth in the agency, and including changing the name to Pathways of Hope from Fullerton Interfaith Emergency Services, and actually absorbing another nonprofit, an interfaith emergency shelter in Anaheim, to the place we are now, which for me is very exciting, simply because I think one of the things that makes Pathways of Hope very unique is that if you look at Orange County in terms of its geographical layout, we are really an important part of what goes on in this northern area of Orange County for these kinds of services. For all intents and purposes, we do our work solely and wholly focused on this community, helping these people, helping our neighbors and our friends. And that work is really important to us, and we're always going to keep true to our roots in Fullerton, but what we know for sure is that cities like Anaheim, cities like Buena Park, cities like Brea, Placentia, La Habra, all have needs, and Pathways of Hope can be a conduit to getting the services for people in those communities as they really need them. So we've grown a lot. What we do now is we have 108 shelter beds across multiple sites that serve families. Now, if you think about a shelter turning over every 90 days or so, you're talking about 400 some odd, someone help me with the math, I think that's about right? About 400 folks a year, families with children getting services, critical emergency services, where we're hopefully moving them on to permanent housing with all of our resources that we have. We help about 80 families a year total with getting permanent housing after they've experienced homelessness. We talk about the folks that we help in a very specific way. We don't talk about the homeless. We talk about people that are experiencing homelessness, because keeping the dignity of a human being and referring to them as a person that has a condition that is solvable is very important to us. Simply saying this is a homeless person isn't correct. It's a person who right now is experiencing homelessness, and that homelessness can end with our help. And that's very, very important to us. So when we talk about the things that we're doing, we're talking about ending those exceptional periods where someone can be struggling. And yeah, that can be years in the making, and it can be weeks in the making. But that's what we do. I'm sorry for the little sidebar there, the little social justice-y sidebar, but I can't help myself sometimes. It's who I am. But then we also do several placements throughout the county, about 15 total, of folks who are chronically homeless and might have severe medical or physical disabilities. We partner with St. Jude on some of that work. We're really proud of that. And then we also do a lot of senior work with prevention and diversion. So we help senior rental assistance for seniors that are really struggling. In this day and age, if you set yourself up to retire at a certain age, the economy has changed in a way, the cost of living has changed in a way where that plan may not be as solvent as it once was, and we help a lot of those folks too. On top of all that, we do about 1,000 food distributions a year. Gary and the Pickup Artists are a big part of that, from our Hub of Hope. So we are big, and we do a lot of work in the community, and we do it well. One of the things we take a lot of pride in with our organization is that we stay focused on what we are really good at, and that requires having really good partners and surrounding ourselves with good people that can help with the stuff maybe we're not as good at, but is just as needed for the folks we're helping. And I think that's where a partnership with TBT evolving really makes a lot of sense. The rabbi and Natalie Miriam and Allie and Erica and I have all met a couple times, and I got everyone right. Okay, cool. And some congregation members, which I was really happy about, that came out too, and talked about 3 different kinds of projects we can do to help. And so I just want to touch on all those briefly. And obviously, you'll hear more about them. And I understand that Natalie got our list of our items that are really needed and critical items for our shelter programs, which is very appreciated and distributed. But I think more importantly is that we have 3 opportunities to pray with your legs, feet, hands, and everything else. One of those, I know Allie is going to play. Is Allie still here, or did she leave? Oh, no. Yeah, cool. Allie is really excited in our first conversation about working with the teens to provide food, actually cook meals and bring meals to our families once a month at least during their life skills classes. Our shelter families get critical, necessary life-building skills and career development, some counseling, group counseling, things like that, financial management, all kinds of different things that will help them stay financially solvent and stable so that when they move into their own place, they can keep their own place. And so we have a group once a week that meets of all of our residents. And I tell you, nothing draws people like food, right? So if you want folks to show up to those groups, food is a great way to get them to do that. So Allie is going to work, I think, with the teens was one of the things we talked about collecting food and really, actually having your hands into a meal and creating a meal for these people and bringing the food down. Prior to my work at Pathways of Hope, I worked for a domestic violence program called Human Options down in Irvine. And the predominant group of folks we helped were low-income Hispanic folks from Santa Ana. A lot of folks who didn't have the kind of resources if they were fleeing domestic violence and had to go to a shelter to get the help that they needed. And we had a Hindi temple close by that would bring, and I'm vegan, so I always love this, they would bring us these great big plates of vegan food. And you would never imagine a group of people who had never had that kind of food before or weren't familiar with some of the vegetables and different arrangements just flock to it and eat it all. Because it was there, and it was plentiful, and it was great, and it was in fellowship, and it was really a special thing to see. It was really neat to see the different kinds of groups come together and really, I think one group praying with their hands and the other group really receiving it and getting that fellowship. So that was really nice. But food's a great motivator, so we're hoping that works out really well. Another opportunity that we have to work together, which we're excited about, is where Gary and his group of pickup artists take their food is over to our Hub of Hope. Our Hub of Hope is located behind the Richmond School, and we do a lot of work in that community. And as I mentioned earlier, we do about 1,000 food distributions a month, if you can imagine that. People line up every day, Monday through Saturday, from 1 to 4 p.m. to get food, because food insecurity in a county as rich as Orange County is kind of shocking to think about, but it's very real. These families and these individuals have access to food on a regular basis, so we're really happy about that. And one thing I talked about with the Rabbi's team, and I'm really happy, it's okay to call them a team, right? That's what we call our side. Your team, all right, good, yeah, good, team. Yeah, yep, that's good. We talked about TBT actually having an entire day where they would kind of run the Hub of Hope, and they would do the bagging of the food, checking people in, getting to know people, meeting people in the community that are in need, and really talking with them and having real conversations and providing them the sustenance that they all need to stay alive, frankly. And with that, we talked about doing something in terms of professional services, so folks who have certain skills that might be applicable and could help and help these folks and make themselves available. We talked about doing something along those lines too, and we're really excited about that. And I'm sure there'll be more information to come on that.
We know that beyond operating the hub, we can offer our skills. We have many professionals in our community that might be able to give some guidance to people that have no access to healthcare or to legal help. And these things, they might be a gate to help people to move away from deep issues that might be resolved easily by people that has the knowledge. So I'm hoping that we can share our expertise and our knowledge with those that are in need in the community while we are taking care of the store, maybe in a different hour.
right there.
This is really great because I can't directly ask you as easily as the rabbi can because you're his congregation, right? So it's much easier for him to say, okay, guys, we got to come together and do this. But I would like it if you did. That'd be great. Mr. Gruber would like to contribute something. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. CareerWise is a volunteer-driven program that really helps people with resume building, job opportunities in the community, interview skills, and things like that. And that's a tremendous opportunity to help folks who, you know, this economy has still left a lot of people behind. And CareerWise creates opportunity for people to get caught up on that. So thank you, Gary. That's another amazing opportunity. You have the best ideas. You do. You do. Yeah. See, don't give them any ideas, right? Yeah, don't get upset.
Don't let's start. Well, keep going, David.
Yeah, thank you. So finally, the final opportunity, and one that I know is very exciting, is so through the course of our shelter program, the average length of stay is about 45 to 60 days. And in that 45 to 60 days, a family will inhabit their own apartment. That'll serve as their shelter. And we think of shelter not just as a noun, but I really appreciate what the rabbi was saying towards the end, talking about sheltering. And I can't remember all of it. I'm sorry, but the idea of sheltering as a verb is really important, right? That you bring someone in and you sheltered them and you allow them to have shelter is an important thing. In the process of that, that means that the units that we have frequently need new paint, need to be cleaned after a family moves out before the next family moves in. And the idea really is that for the next family that moves in, when you see a child move into a place that maybe they've been living in the Santa Ana riverbed, they've been living in an RV, they've been living in a motel that is definitely not appropriate for children to live in. And this is all, unfortunately, a very real reality here within a couple miles of here that's happening, I promise you. We like to make sure that as people come into our shelter, they're met with dignity and respect and an appropriate place for them to lay their heads while we try to end their episode of homelessness. And that's really important to us. So I know Natalie came down today and saw our shelter and is very excited about the opportunities, but I think TBT will be asking folks to come together on a regular basis to clean rooms, to really get and pray with their hands, and really get in there and work and create an environment that's appropriate for children. You know, I can tell you we have a family right now, just as a little kind of aside, that's waiting to move into one of our units when it's available, and it's an 8-month-old woman, or 8-month-old woman, that sounds strange, right? I'm usually in bed by now, to be quite frank. I have an 8 and a 5-year-old. They wear me out. This is bedtime for all of us. My 8-year-old was going to come tonight, which would have been great to play with the kids, I think, but I don't know. But so anyway, sorry. I start talking about my kids, I become the doting father and get off topic very quickly. But an 8-month pregnant woman living down in the Santa Ana riverbed in the city of Santa Ana with her husband. They've been clean off of drugs for 2.5, 3 years, and they just cannot get ahead. And we know a preponderance of the people who are homeless and living in the riverbed, based on the recent UCI study, says about 70% of their original cause of homelessness was economics. And they've just had trouble and a struggle getting ahead because of the challenges with trying to rent an apartment in this county are remarkable. And that's a family we want to make room for. That's a family we want to be safe, and that's a family we want to come and stay with us while we try to end their period of homelessness. But you know, that takes a community to really come together and do that. And I'll just kind of close, I think, in just saying briefly that for me, you know, I gave a talk last week on Saturday at Cal State Fullerton during a choir performance, which was, you know, much like this tonight, was just beautiful, and really kind of took your breath away when you consider that, you know, there's these opportunities here in a faith-based group, in a setting like this, in a synagogue, or at a concert hall, world-class concert hall, of people coming together to talk about the same issue, and that issue in both instances was helping the needy around us. And when I think about the things that start conversations like this, it is the arts, it is faith, it is those kinds of things that people really have the opportunity to be inspired and to take something away where they feel comfortable talking about these kinds of things in the community with their neighbors and with people around them. Because I will tell you, as a father and as a person that has worked very deeply on this work for a long time and has seen a lot of things, there is no way we will solve these problems without that conversation happening. And so my ask for all of you is, regardless of the commitment you could make to Natalie's team in working on these issues, will just be to please have the conversations realistically about what's happening out in the community and the struggles that a lot of our neighbors and people that maybe once served you a coffee at Starbucks, or once bagged your groceries, or once your mechanic, or maybe their kids go to your school with your kids and you don't even realize it. It's our community, and I think that the opportunity to give back in such a substantial way like we're talking about is not to be missed. So that's all I have. I'm sorry if I took too long. I'm sure everyone's hungry and wants to go on Friday night out, so thanks.
Thank you very much, David. So, everybody like what you say. We don't applaud people here in services. So. Thank you very much. I was just say a very fast thing. Alice and David, actually, this is about you. First, welcome back for your trip. I shared that in our meeting a couple of days ago in one of our meetings. When I arrived from Singapore, you say in English Singapore, actually. When I arrived from Singapore in Fullerton, so David came to open for us the hotel room, and there were some treats for Sancho that Miriam and Sophia bought, and there were 2 doors for my kid that Alice and David left there. And why I remember that? Because I remember that. Because when somebody is thinking about you, it changes completely the perspective of your experience. And we have the opportunity to make a real change in the lives of people that feel that nobody remembers them. Just think about that. Think about the great opportunity that we have to transform the life experience of these people, but also to transform our lives by being able to share with others and to extend in this way Tikkun Olam with audacious hospitality. Our service continues on page 586 with Aleinu Leshaveach. Please rise.
כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, עד קדוש ברוך הוא. בונות השמיים ביוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו השמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס הולדתו, כך כתוב ותורתו בידתה היום, ואשר באותה אל נעריך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים השמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ ועל הארץ מתחת. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו ושמו אחד. You may be seated. At this point, at the end of our service, we take a moment to remember their souls among our congregation that have a yahrzeit this week. Thank you for sharing, Nyla.
Okay. Florence Siegler, Gloria Weiner, Florence Copelas, Harriet Hirsch, Corp Klein, Len Braunstein, Bonnie Braunstein, Gertrude Braunstein, Evelyn Cooper, Florence Cohen, Fanny Feldman, Louis Green, Edward Nowitz, Dorothy Polikoff, Tilly Cohen. And we're in the slow sheen, the first 30 days following the funeral of Kim Van Winkle, Bill Wilson, Linda Mizrahi, Phyllis Fleischer Taylor, Rachel Wager Lacrosse, Sherry Mencher, and Alan Solomon.
We also remember the victims of the terrible massacre last week in Texas. We also especially remember and honor those that made the ultimate sacrifice so that we could enjoy our freedom. If you are during the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva, please rise. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise. If you have a yahrzeit this week, please rise. Now you can support our fellows while standing or sitting, joining us with your voices, your heart, and your kavanot, the intentions, the meditation of your heart for Mourners Kaddish on page 598. התגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, באמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, לעילה מן כל ברכתה בשירתה, תושבחתה בנחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה באמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמיה, בחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל באמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל באמרו אמן. May the memories of your dear ones be for a blessing. Zichronam lebracha, you may be seated. David, thank you again for taking the time and coming to visit us Friday night during your bedtime. And we have some sweets to give you, so please stay with us for the Oneg Shabbat. A couple of things. Last Wednesday, we have a wonderful and very meaningful presentation. Many of you were here, and I think that presentation promises an incredible year here at TVT with wonderful scholars in a huge variety of topics. So keep coming, and let's study. Let's study Torah. You know, you can study Torah in Torah study, and that's a great way to do that. So come to Torah study as much as you can. You can study Torah in Lunch and Learn, but you also can study Torah from personal stories and from different topics. And I think many of the classes that we will have this year represent our attempt to study Torah from life stories or by approaching topics that have to do with human life. So please join us next Friday night. We are going to welcome Menachem Hofnung. Menachem Hofnung is a professor in
the Hebrew University, and he will be talking with us about the aftermath of the Six-Day War. He's going to be here after services. I think that you will enjoy his, he's a professor, so dissertation. It might be a dialogue. I'm not sure. So please join us. And tomorrow in Lunch and Learn, we will be discussing, or we'll be approaching Kabbalah. We'll do an intro to Kabbalah. And we have the pleasure, and the reason we are doing this intro, the CSP scholar this year, Professor Yossi Hayut, for me, Yossi, he was one of my professors in Haifa University, and he's going to be here in January teaching some Kabbalah. And I say to myself, I need to do something before. And here I am teaching a class in Kabbalah tomorrow, so you have the basics. We'll make sure that you have the basics, so please join us for Lunch and Learn. Tomorrow, of course, our traditional Torah study and our Havaya school. And Shabbat Beyachad, our service and play date for young families that's happening at 9 a.m. With all that said, one more thing, Erika. On that side? Everybody goes out from that side. So we need to, so there will be here in this outside a table, so you can let us know and in which kind of volunteership you like to get involved, if you like to get involved. So before we send the email to the congregation asking this question, we would like to get some ideas of your topics of interest. So there will be a table, Erika will be there, and you can fill the paper there. What else I don't know, Erika? And you heard that, right? No. So they have a wish list. Erika, help me. With items for Pathways of Hope. Items, wish list, Pathways of Hope. Good. So now, yes, we are going to conclude our service on page 625 with Adon Olam. Here at TBT, we have the custom of making sure that we connect with each other at the end. If you feel comfortable giving your hand to the person sitting next to you, you can do that. And otherwise, you just can stand next to somebody. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra lehem nasa v'chefso kol asay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei levot hakol levado imloch nora ehu haya behu ove behu yeh ve'tiva behu echad ve'hen sheni להמשילו, להחמירה, בלי תכלית, ולא להרוס, והמשרה והוא אלי, וחי ואלי, את צורכי בלי, בהצהרה, והוא ניסי, ומנוס בי, מנת כוסי, ויומר וידו אכפיר רוחי והקישם ההירה ועם רוחי ודיעתי אדון אדוני לי אלוהינה. May we find the wisdom to become shelters. May we find the courage to transform our own lives and transform the lives of others. May our community become a shelter of personal and community transformation. And may we find peace. Adonai os le'amo iten. Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom
Shabbat Shalom. Ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai lai ya lai 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 la lai la lai la lai la lai 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 ya lai la lai la lai ya lai